If there's one thing New York isn't short on, it's underestimating the quiet woman smiling with a drink. The night my husband's colleague called me a retired model in front of the trading floor. She didn't know she insulted the silent owner of that year's bonus pool. No one at Halcyon Ridge Capital knew the Blackburn on the ownership structure was me. And on bonus day, before she ripped open that six-figure envelope, I let her see exactly who signed the bottom line. My name is Hannah Blackburn. I am 34 years old, and I am currently standing on a rooftop in Manhattan where the air smells like exhaust, expensive perfume, and desperation. This is the annual summer party for Halcyon Ridge Capital, my husband's firm. The music is a deep, pounding thud that you feel in your teeth rather than hear. Below us, the city is a grid of frantic, glittering lights. Up here, the predators are celebrating a good quarter. I'm wearing a simple black sheath dress. It's an old Roland Mouret, the kind of dress that whispers money rather than shouts it. But to me, next to the women in severe architectural blazers and the men whose suits cost more than a mid-range car, it translates as trophy. I am an accessory, the soft, pretty thing brought along to prove the hunter is successful enough to afford comforts. My husband is Casey Bowen. He's 37, the newly minted junior partner, and the man they all call the money machine of HRC. To them, he is the rich husband. He's the one with the Midas touch, the one who turned some obscure distressed debt into a 9-figure return. They look at him, then they look at me, and they do the simple, lazy math. He earns, I spend, he acts, I exist. I hold a flute of champagne I haven't sipped in 10 minutes. The bubble's long dead. I nod and smile as the managing director talks to me. Not to me, about the regatta he just competed in. I make the appropriate murmuring sounds. Around me, the air is thick with the real language of this place. Inflation, yield curves, MA pipelines, SPACs. I listen to two analysts, barely 25, arguing about the relative merits of a new quant strategy. The volatility is the alpha, one of them says, his voice cracking with self-importance. Only if you can hedge the tail risk. The other counters. Puffing on a cigar, he is clearly too young to enjoy. I understand every word. I understand the tail risk better than he does. I know that the alpha he's chasing is just leveraged beta with a good story. I understand it all. But I keep my expression placid. I let my eyes glaze over just enough. In this world, a woman who is quiet and beautiful is assumed to be stupid. It's an assumption I have found to be extraordinarily useful. I let them think I'm the pretty, dumb one. It keeps them comfortable. It makes them careless. Then I see her, Madison Pike. Madison is in her early 30s, the vice president of client strategies, and the unofficial, unelected queen of the junior partners. She is everything I am not, at least on the surface. Tonight, she's wearing a sharp, cobalt blue pantsuit with shoulders that could take someone's eye out. She's the girl boss archetype, weaponized. She's loud, she's sharp, and she is Casey's office right hand, his work wife. I'm standing near a large, potted olive tree, cloaked in the shadows just outside the main circle of light, refreshing my own drink to avoid another conversation about yachts. Madison is holding court with a small group of junior traders, all of them looking at her with that desperate, hungry puppy look that ambitious young people get. Her voice cuts through the thud of the music. Honestly, Madison says, taking a large gulp of her martini, if I looked like Casey's wife, I'd retire from modeling too. I would never, ever think about numbers again. The group laughs. It's a sharp, braying sound. One of the younger women, someone from compliance, I think, leans in and whispers, loud enough for me to hear. She's like a retired model with a black card. That's life goals. Total goals, another agrees. My hand tightens on the glass. Just for a second. The stem is cold and slick. I watch a single drop of condensation roll down the outside, like a tear. My face, however, remains perfectly neutral. I haven't moved. They don't see me. I am just part of the expensive, decorative foliage. The circle breaks, and Casey himself walks up. He claps one of the traders on the back, and then he does it. He places his hand on Madison's back. It's not a colleague's fault. It's a gesture of possession. His hand lands just above the curve of her hip, his thumb rubbing a small circle through the cobalt blue fabric. It's too intimate. It's too comfortable. It's a gesture he hasn't used on me in months. Madison turns, her entire body language shifting, leaning into his touch like a cat. She sees him, and her voice gets brighter, more performative. "Casey," she laughs, "your wife probably can't hear us over there. She's probably bored to death, right? This is the moment. This is the pivot point. This is where my husband, the rich husband, the money machine, could say 1,000 things. Don't talk about my wife like that. Hannah is brilliant. Actually, she's probably bored by you." He does none of them. He gives a short, tight laugh, a little gurgle of discomfort, but not of defense. "Hannah likes the slow life," he says, his voice frustratingly vague. "Staying out of the business, it's good for her." He didn't just fail to defend me. He agreed with them. He confirmed their entire pathetic narrative. He signed off on the insult. I registered for it. Not with heat, not with anger. It's a cold, clean data point, a transaction being recorded in a ledger. He chose them. He chose the lie. I take one slow breath. I check my reflection in the dark glass of the rooftop door. Hair, fine. Makeup, fine. Smile, in place. I step out from behind the olive tree. The laughter dies as they see me. Their faces are a perfect, beautiful study in panic. Casey's eyes widened. He doesn't pull his hand from Madison's back, but it freezes. I glide forward, my placid smile locked in place. I ignore my husband. I walk directly to Madison Pike. I extend my hand. "Hi," I say, my voice light and breezy. "I don't think we've been properly introduced. I'm Hannah." She takes my hand automatically. Her own is damp and cold. "I'm a full-time retired model," I continued, my smile widening just a fraction. "And I also dabble in a few other little things, to keep busy." Madison lets out a nervous, high-pitched laugh. She thinks I'm joking. She thinks I'm being self-deprecating to cover my own embarrassment. She thinks she's won. Her eyes flick to Casey, sharing the joke. "Look at this little idiot," her expression says. She doesn't know. She has no idea she just shook hands with the woman who holds the pen. She just insulted the name on the company's real ownership papers. I pull my hand back, letting my smile drop just a millimeter. "So lovely to finally meet you, Madison." I turn away before she can respond. I leave Casey standing there, his hands still frozen on her back. I leave them in their circle of smug superiority. I walk to the edge of the rooftop, away from the music, away from the chatter. The wind is cooler here. It pulls at my hair. I look down at the city, at the millions of lights, the millions of stories, the millions of tiny, savage wars being fought in boardrooms and bedrooms. All right, if you think I am just a retired model, that's fine. If you think my only job is to look good at parties and spend my husband's money, you can keep thinking that. Let's see if you're still laughing come bonus season. Let's see how girl boss you feel when you're staring at a zero. Madison Pike has a narrative for me. It's simple, clean, and completely wrong. In her version of the world, I am a before and after picture. The before was a girl who won the genetic lottery, and the after is the woman who cashed in that ticket for a rich husband. The truth is, I'm not from this world. I'm from Ohio, a town so small we measured distance by how many cornfields it took to get somewhere. I got on a bus to New York at 18. With $800 saved from waitressing and a portfolio of test shots taken by the guy who did our high school's yearbook photos. I was never going to be a supermodel. I knew that within my first week, I wasn't ethereal, I wasn't edgy, I was, as one agent told me, commercially reliable. So I became the most reliable catalog model in the business. My 20s weren't spent at parties in the meatpacking district or on runways in Paris. They were spent at 7 a.m. call times in freezing studios, wearing a Spring 12 collection in the middle of October. I did look books for mid-level designers. I was the face of a department store's jewelry sale. I did advertisements for skincare you buy at a drugstore. It wasn't glamorous, but it was a job. And unlike the other girls, who spent their paychecks on bags and shoes, I saved. I wasn't just learning how to pose. I was learning the business. I learned that the flash was cheap. The real money was in usage rights, in residuals, in the fine print of a contract. I learned to read those contracts. I learned to ask questions. I learned the difference between a brand's image and its balance sheet. I was 26 when I met Douglas Hargrove. I was on a shoot for a Swiss watch company that was trying to rebrand. He wasn't part of the crew. He was sitting in the back, watching. He was an investor. Douglas was old money, but with a dangerous, new money mind. He was the founder of Hargrove Blackburn Holdings. During a break, he heard me on the phone with my agent. I wasn't arguing about the day rate. I was arguing about the digital rights clause. If they want global perpetual use, I was saying, then I want a percentage of the ad buy, not a flat fee. That's equity in my own image. When I hung up, he was smiling. In 20 years, he said, his voice a gravelly rumble. You are the first model I have ever heard use the word equity correctly. He didn't ask me to dinner. He asked me to his office. He offered me a job. Come be an image consultant for my fund, he said. I'm investing in these brilliant tech kids who dress like they're still in a dorm room. They're killing my presentations. He offered me a fee. I said no. I said I wanted what he offered his tech kids, part cash, part equity. Douglas laughed for a solid minute. Then he agreed. For the next 5 years, I lived a double life. By day, I was Hannah, the pretty model who told a 24-year-old CEO that his hoodie wasn't appropriate for a meeting with venture capitalists. By night, I was Hannah, the student. Douglas let me sit in on meetings. He taught me how to read a term sheet. He explained cap tables. I wasn't just reading Vogue. I was reading the Financial Times. I was reading his fund's reports. I was learning from the master. And I used my own money, the money I'd saved from 10 years of catalogs, to invest alongside him. He'd back a few early-stage startups, and he'd let me put in a small amount, $50,000 here, $70,000 there. Most of them failed, but one of them, a scrappy little investment fund called Ridgeback Equity, didn't. After a few mergers and a rebranding, it became Halcyon Ridge Capital, the firm my husband now works for. When Douglas got sick, he knew he didn't have much time. He had no children, and his relatives were distant and greedy. He trusted me. He set up a series of complex, ironclad trusts. He left the controlling interest of Hargrove Blackburn Holdings, the parent company that owned majority stakes in dozens of businesses, including HRC, to a single, anonymous beneficiary, H. Blackburn. The world of finance is run by men who see what they expect to see. They heard the name Blackburn, and they assumed it was a man, an old money brother, a long-lost nephew from Connecticut. They never, not for 1 second, pictured the 28-year-old model who used to bring them coffee. I met Casey when I was 29. He was an associate at HRC, making a high 6-figure salary, but he wasn't a partner yet. He was handsome, ambitious, and utterly convinced of his own brilliance. He saw me, and he saw exactly what Madison Pike sees today, a beautiful, slightly directionless ex-model. He loved the story. He, Casey Bowen, was rescuing me. He was giving me structure in my life. When I told him I had a small inheritance from an old mentor, he thought it was sweet. You just let me handle the serious money. Han, he said, patting my hand. You don't need to worry your pretty head about it. I let him believe it. I let him believe the penthouse was from his bonus, when in fact it's owned by my trust. I let him believe he was the rich husband. After Douglas died, his lawyer, Julian Rice, called me into his office. He's a dry, meticulous man who smells of old paper and peppermint. Hannah, he said, sliding a thick binder across his mahogany desk. Douglas didn't just leave you well off. He left you in charge. He explained the clauses, the trust. H. Blackburn, held a 54% controlling stake in Hargrove Blackburn Holdings, which in turn held the controlling equity in Halcyon Ridge Capital. And this, Julian said, tapping a specific page, is the kicker, Clause 30B. As the managing trustee, you and only you have final approval on any compensation package, bonus pool, or equity distribution for senior-level employees at HRC. If you wish to activate the clause, of course. Activate it, I asked. It's been dormant, Julian said. Douglas let the board run itself, but the power is yours. You have the final signature. I chose not to activate it. I chose to stay quiet. I wanted a life. I wanted a marriage. I wanted to see what kind of man I had married. I wanted to see if his love was real, or if it was just built on the convenient, flattering narrative that he was the one with the power. Casey knows I have a little stock somewhere. He thinks it's a quaint little dividend check that comes 4 times a year. He has no idea that his entire partnership, his money machine reputation, his 6-figure bonus, and the bonus of the woman whose back he was touching all of it is just a proposal, a suggestion. It's not real until I sign the paper. And for 4 years, I have signed it, quietly, from my home office, with Julian as the intermediary. But tonight, standing on that rooftop, listening to their laughter, watching my husband's hand on her body, I felt something shift. The data point was recorded, the calculation was made. I'm tired of being the quiet, pretty one. I'm tired of this useful, stupid assumption. I wanted to see how far they would go, how confident they would get. Thinking they were the smartest people in the room, I wanted to see if they would ever, finally, step on my neck. And tonight, Madison Pike did just that. She just doesn't know she stepped on the one person who signs her check. We rode home from the party in silence. The back of the Escalade is cool and dark. A quiet tomb smelling of leather and Casey's expensive, fading cologne. He's been quiet, staring out the window at the blur of late-night Manhattan. I know this silence. It's the silence of someone rehearsing a speech. The elevator ride up to the penthouse is just as quiet. The doors slide open, and he heads straight for the bar. He pours a good 2 fingers of scotch, the clink of the heavy glass decanter the first sound he's made in 20 minutes. He finally turns, loosening his tie. You were quiet tonight. I was observing, I say, slipping off my heels by the door. He takes a sip, nodding to himself. Madison is brilliant, you know. Here it is, the speech. She pushed through that pharma deal, he continues, walking toward the massive floor-to-ceiling windows. The one everyone said was dead. She just doesn't quit. She's a killer. I'm sure she is, I say, picking up the mail from the hall table. Junk, a bill for the wine cellar. He drains half the glass. She was just trying to be friendly. Han, that comment about the retired model thing she just meant it's cute. You know, that you don't have to live in this Shark Tank. I stop. I turn around, my hands still full of envelopes. I look at him, really look at him. His 37-year-old face, still handsome, but the edges are blurring. The stress, the entitlement. I decided to test the water. Just a small test. You didn't find that disrespectful, calling your wife a prop in front of your entire team. He sighs. It's a performative, heavy-burdened sound. Jesus, Hannah, you're being too sensitive. It was just a joke. People in this business have a rough sense of humor. You can't take everything so personally. And there it is, the first tile in the gaslighting mosaic. It's not her insult that's the problem. It's my sensitivity. You're right, I say, turning away, my voice as light as air. I'm probably just tired. He nods, satisfied, and finishes his drink. I'm going to bed. I've got the Asia desk opening in a few hours. That night begins a new chapter. The cracks, which had been tiny hairline fractures, start to widen. I stopped visiting the HRC offices. I used to go once or twice a month, bringing in pastries for the assistants or taking Casey to a quick lunch. Now, I stay away, but the few times I do go, to sign a paper for our apartment or meet him for a charity dinner. She is always there. Madison Pike, materialized at his elbow. I'll see them through the glass walls of his office, heads bent close together, laughing, not a polite colleague laugh, but a real, shared secret, belly laugh, the kind he and I used to have. When I enter, she pulls back instantly, her face snapping into a mask of professional, slightly pitying politeness. "Hannah, so good to see you," she'll say, her voice 2 octaves too bright. "Love that coat. Is it new?" She's an expert at the passive-aggressive compliment, the kind that frames me as a creature of consumption. Then, she makes her move. A direct approach. An email lands in my inbox. Coffee. The subject line reads, "We meet at a sterile, overpriced cafe in the HRC lobby. She's in her battle armor pantsuit. I'm in jeans and a cashmere sweater. She stirs her black coffee with a violent energy. I'm so glad we're doing this," she starts. "I really want to get to know you. Casey talks about you, of course, but I wanted you to know, understand your world." "My world?" I ask, sipping my tea. "Yeah, the modeling life," she says, leaning in. "It must have been so fascinating, but what happens after, when you get older?" I just look at her. "You mean, when I'm 34? She backpedals. "But not really." "Oh God. No, you look amazing. I just mean, what's your plan? Do you have any plans to get back into it? Or get some money of your own?" Just in case. I realize what she's doing. This isn't friendly coffee. This is an audit. She's assessing me. She's trying to figure out if I'm a threat or just a liability. She's looking at me like I'm a stock she's trying to short. And I realize, with a cold, clear certainty, that she has already made up her mind. In her eyes, I am a depreciating asset. I am the first wife, the pretty simple one who gets traded in for a newer, smarter model. She thinks I am a relic, a happy homemaker living on her husband's dime, with no right to speak, no power to wield. She doesn't see me as part of Casey's career. She sees me as the baggage he's carrying. I get my confirmation a week later. I'm dropping off a vintage watch of Casey's that I'd gotten repaired. I'm walking past a row of analyst cubicles when I hear her voice from a nearby alcove. "He's brilliant," Madison is saying to a junior analyst. "Casey will be the youngest senior partner in HRC history. I'm telling you, he just has to, cut some of the emotional stuff from his life. You know what I mean?" The analyst murmurs something. I don't need to hear it. I am the emotional stuff. I am the dead weight he needs to cut. The implication is so clear. It's practically a press release. Casey's behavior shifts. The late nights get later. His excuses get lazier. Late trading? He'll text at 9 p.m. Asia desk call. He'll mumble when he gets home at midnight, smelling faintly of wine. Not scotch. I'm not a fool. I know what this looks like. But I'm also not the wife who checks phone records for other women. I'm the woman who checks trading logs. And on 2 separate nights he claimed late trading. I cross-referenced the HRC trade blotter. The desk closed at its normal time. The market was quiet. He's lying. But I'm not thinking about infidelity. An affair is simple. It's boring. It's a betrayal of the heart. What I'm seeing is a betrayal of power. He isn't just lying to his wife. He's lying to his partner. He's aligning himself with someone who is actively, openly, trying to push me out. Then comes the final, beautiful, perfect insult. The email from Madison. It's an invitation. The HRC Women in Finance Committee is hosting its annual luncheon, and Madison, as the chair, would be so honored if I would be the keynote speaker. I read the lines, and I can literally hear her voice, dripping with saccharine condescension. "We think your story is just so inspiring," she wrote. "We'd love for you to give a short talk on your journey, from model to happy homemaker, how you've supported Casey's rise. It would be a wonderful perspective for the younger women." A slap, a perfect, stinging slap, wrapped in the ribbon of corporate feminism. She wants to put me on a stage. She wants to display me as the ultimate prize for a woman in finance, a rich husband who will pay for you to retire. I stare at the email for a full minute. My fingers are cold. I could delete it. I could ignore it. Instead, I type a reply. I keep it brief, polite, and absolutely lethal. Dear Madison, thank you so much for the incredibly thoughtful invitation. Unfortunately, I'll have to decline, as my schedule is quite full. However, should HRC ever host a seminar on the woman who actually reads the term sheets and signs the bonus checks for the entire trading floor, I'll be sure to clear my calendar and consider participating. All the best. Hannah. I hit send. I know she won't understand it. She'll read it, be confused for a second, and then laugh it off. She'll show it to Casey. Your wife is so weird, she'll say, and they'll laugh together. Let them laugh. I pick up my phone. I dial Julian's private number. He picks up on the first ring. Julian Rice. Julian, it's Hannah. Mrs. Bowen, he says. His voice is always the same, dry, precise. To what do I owe the pleasure? I need a favor, I say. Walking to my home office, the one Casey thinks I use for online shopping, I sat at my desk, the desk Douglas Hargrove left me. I need you to send me the full document package. Everything related to the Hargrove Blackburn Trust's governance over Halcyon Ridge Capital. Specifically, I want Clause 30B. There is a half-second of silence. It is the closest Julian ever gets to showing surprise. Of course, he says. May I ask why? After all this time, I look out the window. The city is glittering, same as it was from the rooftop. Nothing has changed, and everything has. Because, I say, my voice perfectly steady, I think we're going to use it. The first call I make isn't to a divorce lawyer, it's to Julian. The second call he makes is to Monica Hale. Monica is a forensic accountant, a bloodhound with a CPA. She is the woman you hire when you're sure money is being stolen but you can't find the exits. Julian has used her for years to clean up messes and audit potential acquisitions. She is, in a word, terrifying, and she is loyal to Julian, which means she is loyal to Douglas's trust. We don't send her into Halcyon Ridge Capital. That would be too obvious. Instead, Julian sends a letter on Hargrove Blackburn Holdings letterhead, the real letterhead, the one that makes CEOs sweat to the board of HRC. The letter politely informs them that the Blackburn family office, as part of a routine annual review of its major holdings, will be sending an independent consultant to review the books. Halcyon Ridge is just one of 12 companies on the list. It's a boring, procedural, bureaucratic move. Monica Hale arrives on a Tuesday. She's not what they expect. She's not a severe woman in a pinstripe suit. She's in her 50s, with soft gray hair, and wears floral print blouses. She looks like a very nice, very harmless human resources manager from a nonprofit. They give her a small, glass-walled conference room, a data room, and everyone, including my husband, thinks she's just a bean counter from some forgotten pension fund. Casey makes a point of stopping by to welcome her. Let us know if you need anything, Ms. Hale. I'm sure he said, all charm and condescension. The numbers are all pretty straightforward. Thank you, Mr. Bowen, she replied, as she told me later. I'm sure I'll just be in and out. For 3 days, Monica is just a piece of furniture. She drinks her coffee, she reads her files, and on the 4th day, she finds it. She's working remotely with me, sharing her screen from her hotel room, long after the HRC offices have closed. They're sloppy, Hannah, she says, her voice a calm murmur. She clicks through a shared drive. When people get this arrogant, they stop covering their tracks. They think they own the place. They think no one is watching. What did you find? I started with the executive committee meeting minutes, she says. Then I cross-referenced with the draft strategy proposals. Look at this. A document appears on my screen. It's an internal memo, drafted by Madison Pike, co-signed by Casey Bowen. Proposed 2024 Restructuring Initiative. It's a plan, Monica says, her mouse highlighting a paragraph. To issue a new class of shares, preferred equity, they want to create a new special purpose vehicle, an SPV, to expand the equity pool for key employees. I read the words, It's dense, full of corporate jargon. I don't understand, I say. It sounds like a bonus plan. It sounds like one, Monica agrees. But it's not. It's a dilution, a hostile takeover from the inside. She pulls up another screen, a cap table. This is HRC now, she says, pointing. Hargrove Blackburn Holdings owns 54%. The board controls 46%. Simple. Now, look at this. She brings up a spreadsheet. This is HRC after their restructuring. If this new SPV is created, and these new shares are issued, your stake drops from 54% to 21%. I feel the air leave my lungs. 21%. We'd lose the controlling interest. Instantly, Monica says. And guess who would be the primary beneficiaries of this new SPV? The key employees. Casey and Madison. Casey and Madison, she confirms. They're turning your majority stake into a minority one. They're taking the dumb money, your money, Douglas's money, and locking it in the basement, while they give themselves the keys to the entire building. They're not just insulting you, Hannah, they're robbing you, in broad daylight. I stare at the numbers. This is the betrayal. This is the real affair. The hand on the back, the late nights, the Asia desk. It was all this. It was a conspiracy. Then Monica clicks to the last page of the memo. It's a scanned copy, and there's a handwritten note in the margin. I recognize the sharp, aggressive slant of Madison's handwriting. The old Hargrove Trust has been dormant for years, the memo's text reads. There is no active management on their side. Blackburn is just a name on the paperwork. This should pass with a simple proxy vote. And below that, Madison's blue ink scrawl. This will give Casey real control at last. My husband, he wasn't just letting a colleague insult his wife. He was using that insult. He was leveraging my status as the retired model, the pretty, stupid, silent wife, to orchestrate the theft of my company. He was counting on me to be exactly who they thought I was, a living, breathing, inactive account, a box of money he didn't have the password for. There's more, Monica says, her voice flat. As part of the routine audit, I was granted legal access to the executive email server, simple keyword searches, Hargrove, Blackburn, restructuring. Look at this thread. An email chain. From Madison Pike to Casey Bowen. Subject, the B, signature. Casey, it reads. This restructuring is brilliant, but it's all going to hinge on getting the proxy vote from the Hargrove Trust. Even if they're dormant, they need to sign. We can't just ignore a 54% holder. I watch the screen, my blood turning to ice. Casey's reply, sent 2 minutes later. They'll sign. It's fine. It's just a formality. Madison, 1 minute after that. Are you sure we should do some PR? Soften them up. What about Hannah? She's married to you. Can't she just get them to sign? And then, the one that stops my heart. The email from my husband. The one he wrote from his office. Probably. While I was across town picking up his dry cleaning or arranging a dinner party for his clients. Casey Bowen's reply. Don't worry about Hannah. Hannah only cares about rescue dogs and abstract art. She has no idea what any of this means. As long as I'm still the rich husband and she can use the black card, she won't touch the paperwork. I'll get her to sign it herself. She won't even read it. I read it once, then twice. The anger I felt on the rooftop, that hot, sharp sting of humiliation, is gone. It's been replaced by something much colder, something much cleaner. Calculation. I am not a person to him. I am a joke. I am a signature on a dotted line. I am a pet he has to manage. Hannah. Monica's voice is gentle. I'm here, I say. My own voice is steady. It surprises me. Monica, you've done excellent work. I need you to download this entire chain, the memo, the emails, the handwritten note, everything. Send it to Julian, encrypted. Done, she says. And then, I need you to finish your audit. Be normal. Be the sweet, harmless lady in the floral blouse. Find nothing. Thank them for their time. And get out. And then I'm calling Julian. I'm telling him to activate the clause. Which one? The one, I say. That says any change related to equity, any change to the bonus pool, any alteration of the corporate structure at Halcyon Ridge Capital is null and void without the live, in-person, physically witnessed signature of H. Blackburn. I close the laptop. I stand up and walk to the window of my penthouse. The one he thinks he pays for. The city is still there. The lights are still on. He's right about one thing. I do care about rescue dogs. They're loyal, they're honest, and they know a predator when they see one. I'm not going to confront him. I'm not going to cry, or scream, or throw a glass of scotch in his face. That's what the retired model would do. That's what the emotional stuff would do. No, I'm going to let him play. I'm going to let him and Madison walk right into the center of their brilliant, clever, foolproof plan. I'm going to let them think they are the smartest people in the room, and I'm going to stand in the corner, smiling, just like I did at the party. I'm going to watch them build their entire future, and then, at the perfect, precise moment, I'm going to pull the single pin that holds the whole thing up. My so-called family office is a quiet, sterile suite of rooms high over Soho. Casey thinks I use it to manage charity donations and answer invitations to galas. He has no idea it's the nerve center of the Hargrove Blackburn Trust, and that Julian Rice, my lawyer, practically lives here. This is our war room. Julian, Monica Hale, and I are huddled around a massive conference table. The wall is a projection of a single sprawling Excel spreadsheet. Halcyon Ridge Capital, compensation reports, last 5 years, Monica says, her voice calm and clinical. She uses a laser pointer. I've sorted by total compensation. As you'd expect, the partners are at the top, then the VPs. But look at this. Her pointer lands on a name, Madison Pike. Madison is consistently in the top 5% of all non-partner employees. Monica continues. Year after year. It's aggressive, but not impossible, until you cross-reference it with her team's actual performance. She clicks, and another spreadsheet overlays the first. These are her team's metrics. P&L, client acquisition, asset under management growth. In 3 of the last 5 years, her team has been average. In one of those years, 2021, they were significantly below their target, but look, the bonus number for Madison Pike in 2021 was her highest ever. That makes no sense, I say, leaning forward. You don't get a record bonus for a failing year. How? I pulled the compensation committee minutes for that meeting, Julian says, tapping a stack of bound documents. It's all qualitative. According to the record, Casey Bowen made an impassioned appeal for her. He claimed the metrics didn't capture her real value. His words were, Madison is the one who holds the key client relationships. She is the glue. The committee, trusting their money machine partner, approved the exception. He hasn't just been planning this new restructuring, I say, the pieces clicking into place. He's been overpaying his co-conspirator for years, using my money to do it. It's a pattern, Monica agrees. He inflates her value to the board, which justifies her position, which allows her to co-author a plan to rob you. It's a neat little circle. All right, I say, standing up. They're playing a long game. We're just going to play a better one. Julian. He looks up, pen poised. I want to redraft the bylaws for Hargrove Blackburn Holdings as they pertain to HRC, effective immediately. A rare, thin smile touches Julian's lips. Regarding the bonus pool, this year, it's not just going to be cash. We are going to mandate that 40% of any bonus over, say, $200,000 be converted into restricted equity. Monica's eyes light up. Restricted equity, which vests over time. And which, I continue, as it represents a change in the company's equity structure, however small, requires final approval and signature not from the HRC board, but from the parent company. From you, Julian finishes. It's ironclad. I want you to have our outside counsel send the updated investor requirements to HRC's legal team. Today, frame it as a standard update from Hargrove Blackburn. We're aligning long-term incentives and ensuring executive retention. Use the most boring, corporate language you can find. I don't want anyone to even read it twice. While Julian dispatches the legal torpedo, I work on the human angle. If I'm going to do this, I can't just rely on the numbers. I need to understand the culture they've built. Next week, I will start taking people to lunch, not VPs, not partners. I invited 2 junior analysts, both women in their mid-20s, to a quiet cafe far from the financial district. I introduce myself as Hannah Bowen, Casey's wife, and tell them I'm exploring a mentorship initiative for women in finance. They are stiff and polite for the first 10 minutes. They call me Mrs. Bowen. I ordered a bottle of wine for the table. By the time the second glass is poured, I ask one simple, direct question. What's it really like working for Madison Pike? The 2 women look at each other. One of them, a smart analyst named Sarah, sighs. Off the record, Mrs. Bowen. Completely. I say, the dam doesn't just break. It explodes. For the next hour, I listen. I hear how Madison takes credit for their analysis, how she throws them under the bus if a client call goes badly, how she'll send back-to-back emails at 9 p.m. on a Friday and then schedule a team check-in at 8 a.m. on Saturday. And she's mean, the other analyst says, her voice dropping. In a way that you can't report. She'll comment on your clothes, your weight. She told Jenny, in compliance, that she should maybe try a salad before the holiday party, right in front of a client. I listen. I nod. I pay the check. I go home, and I open a new file on my computer. I call it the Personnel to Protect list. Sarah's name is at the top. So is Jenny's. These aren't just employees. They are future witnesses. When I cut Madison down, I will not be doing it for myself. I'll be doing it for them. The final piece of the trap needs to be perfect. I call Monica. Monica, I say. Remember that lovely Women in Finance event Madison tried to bait me with? The Happy Homemaker keynote, Monica says, her voice flat. That's the one. I want us to do it. But I want Hargrove Blackburn to sponsor it. A real one. A full town hall. A town hall. With a keynote speaker. Yes, I say. But more importantly, with a survey. A comprehensive, third-party, anonymous survey on workplace culture at HRC. We'll send it to every employee. We'll ask about mentorship. We'll ask about work-life balance. We'll ask if they feel their contributions are recognized. We'll ask if they've ever been subjected to body shaming or a hostile work environment from senior management. I can hear Monica smiling. You're not building a case, Hannah. You're building a fortress. I'm just gathering data, I say. If they want to fight this on performance, I want to know what the performance really looks like. Julian handles the final move. He designs the meeting. A new calendar invite appears on the HRC corporate schedule for the last week of the year. Compensation Committee Special Session. Attendance is mandatory for the Executive Committee and all Vice Presidents. Madison and Casey will see it. They'll see the agenda item. Review and approval of 2025 bonus pool and restructuring initiative. They will think this is their coronation. The moment their restructuring plan gets rubber stamped, Julian calls me after it's sent. The HRC board is curious, he says. They are very anxious to finally meet the representative from Hargrove Blackburn. They've been assured the mysterious H. Blackburn will be attending in person this year. They're expecting an old man in a suit from Connecticut, I say. The invitation just says, H. Blackburn, Investor Representative. Julian replies, They've reserved a seat for you at the head of the table. That evening, a courier from Julian's office delivers a package. It's the new template for the bonus letters, the letter of award, revised per the new bylaws. It's printed on heavy, cream-colored bond paper. I look at the draft. It details the base salary, the cash bonus, and the new section, Restricted Equity Award. At the very bottom, there are 2 signature lines. The first is for the CEO of HRC. The second is for the investor. The pre-printed text, in neat italics, reads, Approved by Hargrove Representative. I pick up my pen. A heavy black fountain pen that Douglas left for me. I draw a single, clean red line through Hargrove Representative. And right above it, in my own steady hand, I write Hannah Blackburn, Managing Trustee. The new bylaws I sent through Julian Land at Halcyon Ridge Capital, like a quiet, heavy stone in a deep pond. The ripples are immediate, and they lead straight to my front door. Casey comes home on a Tuesday night, not late, but vibrating with a new, sour energy. He throws his briefcase on the floor, a sound that makes me wince, not for the noise, but for the disrespect of the $1,000 leather, and yanks his tie from his neck. "You will not believe the bureaucracy," he snaps, heading for the scotch. I'm in the living room, reading a prospectus on a biotech firm. I lower the papers. Oh, that goddamn restructuring, the one Madison and I have been killing ourselves over for 6 months, it's stalled. He splashes amber liquid into a glass. Some dusty old bastard from the Hargrove Trust, this Blackburn guy. He says my name, our name. He says it like it's a piece of gum he's scraping off his shoe. He's suddenly decided he's an active investor. Casey fumes, pacing the rug. He's demanding a full review of the bonus pool. He's inserting new clauses about restricted equity. He's drowning us in law. That sounds tedious, I say, turning a page. It's not tedious. Hannah, it's a goddamn disaster, he shouts. I don't even flinch. Madison is furious. She said to me today, and she's right, she said, I don't like some rich old man I've never met putting his fingers all over my paycheck. And frankly, I agree with her. Fingering her paycheck. How perfectly, crudely Madison. I'm sure it will resolve itself, I say, my voice monotone. He just glares at me, as if I'm a simple-minded child who can't grasp the complexities of his very important world. The real-world confirmation of their alliance comes 3 nights later. I got a text, not from Casey, but from Monica Hale, my forensic accountant. Monica has been quietly cultivating the junior analysts I'd taken to lunch. One of them, Sarah, is now her eyes and ears. The text is simple. Madison, Casey, and the whole client strategies team are at the Standard. In the main bar, she's loud. I am, coincidentally, already dressed. I'd been planning to attend a gallery opening in Chelsea. The Standard is just a few blocks away. I tell my driver to take a different route. I don't go in. I just walk past. The bar is all glass, a terrarium of ambition and bad perfume. I see them. It's a big, loud table. Madison is in the center, in a red dress that's an act of aggression. Casey is beside her, laughing, his face flushed. I'm in the shadows of the street, but I can hear her voice cutting through the glass. She's holding court. I am telling you, she says, raising her martini glass. If I had as much money as Hannah Bowen, and a body like that, I would have my brain surgically removed. I would replace it with yoga mats and filler. Who needs to think when you can just be? The table roars with laughter. And Casey, my husband, he laughs. It's a short, sharp bark of pure amusement. He doesn't defend me. He doesn't correct her. He doesn't even have the decency to look uncomfortable. He laughs. I step out of the shadows and walk to the entrance. I nod at the doorman, who recognizes me, and I walk onto the patio, right past their table. Casey, I say, my voice a symphony of pleasant surprise. What a coincidence! The entire table freezes. Casey's smile evaporates, leaving a pale, damp panic. Madison's face, for one beautiful half-second, is pure, unadulterated shock. Hannah, Casey stammers, starting to get up. What are you doing here? I don't look at him. I turn my smile, a slow, $1,000,000 smile, directly onto Madison Pike. Don't worry, Madison, I say, my voice light and clear. I heard your toast. It's a valid career move, but I decided to keep just enough of my brain to read a balance sheet. I lean in, just a fraction, as if sharing a fun secret. And a labor contract. It's so lovely to see you. The table is dead silent. Madison forces a tight, plastic laugh. She thinks I'm being sassy. She thinks I'm a catty wife. She does not. in a million years, understand the raw, literal threat behind the words, labor contract. I turn and walk out, leaving them in the wreckage of their good time. The fight, when it comes, is back at the penthouse. He's waiting for me, having fled the bar. What the hell was that? Hannah, he demands. What was what? I ask, taking off my earrings. That performance. You embarrassed me. You embarrassed Madison. You made everyone uncomfortable. I am so sorry, I say, my voice dripping ice. I didn't realize my existence made you uncomfortable, though I'm starting to see that it does, he sighs, running his hands through his hair, shifting from anger to his other favorite tool, frustrated disappointment. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. You don't get what's at stake. This restructuring has to go through. This Blackburn ghost is killing my deal. You've said, I turn to face him. I've been patient. Casey, I've listened to you complain, but I'm going to ask you one more time. What is so special about this deal? What do you get? It's not about what I get, he spouts, the well-rehearsed line. It's about securing the firm's future, for all of us. That's a lie, I say, and my voice is so cold it shocks even me. That's the line you feed the board. I am not the board. I am not your junior analyst. Tell me the truth. What do you get? He cracks. The frustration boils over, and the truth comes out, hot and ugly. Control, he yells, his face red. Okay. It gives me control. It gives me an equity stake larger than any other partner, bigger than the CEO's, because I'm the one who deserves it. I'm the one shouldering all the responsibility. I'm the one who built that client book. I'm the one managing Madison's drama, and the client's expectations, and this goddamn investor ghost. He finally said it. He's not just aligned with Madison. He is Madison. They are a single entity, fighting for the same prize, and I am the obstacle. I am the drama he has to manage. His confession hangs in the air. Thank you, I say, and walk into our bedroom. He's so busy fighting the ghost. He's forgotten who holds the keys to the graveyard. He's also learning that his new partner is a liability. She's emailing me at 2 a.m, he complains a few days later, trying to repair the damage, trying to pull me back to his side as a sounding board. She's demanding copies of partner agreements. She's getting sloppy. He has no idea. The next morning, I woke up early. He's already gone for a run. But he left something behind. His Apple Watch, charging on the kitchen counter. I'm making tea. The watch screen lights up, a buzz. A notification. Madison Pike, 1:47 a.m. My hand is perfectly steady. I don't touch the watch. I just read the preview on the screen. Casey, this is getting impossible. If you didn't have a wife, this would all be so much simpler. We'd have the votes. Just get her to sign. Get her out of the way. Get her out of the way. It's not a drunk text. It's not a moment of passion. It's a business directive, a command. I don't cry. I don't throw the watch. I don't feel anger. I feel quiet. I pick up my iPhone. I open the camera. I take a crystal clear, high-resolution photo of the watch face, the message glowing bright and damning. I send the image in an encrypted file to Julian Rice. The subject line, Evidence, P7. While they're busy conspiring, I'm busy gathering data. The Hargrove Blackburn-sponsored Women in Finance Town Hall goes ahead. Madison, smelling a trap, tries to poison the well. Monica's analyst, Sarah, reports that Madison held a prep meeting. She told us the anonymous survey was a distraction. Sarah tells Monica, who tells me. She said, no one likes a complainer, and if you want a career, don't make up stories. The threat doesn't work. The survey is anonymous. The survey is run by a third-party vendor, and the women at HRC are, it turns out, furious. Monica presents the final report to me in our Soho war room. The PDF is 50 pages long. It's a bloodbath, Monica says, not without a little satisfaction. I read the executive summary. 62% of female-identifying employees reported hearing senior management, specifically Madison Pike, make derogatory comments about a colleague's weight, age, or appearance. 70% reported Madison taking direct credit for their work. And then, the free-form comments, the qualitative data. Casey Bowen was present during these comments. Madison called the woman in compliance the fat one, and Casey just laughed. He finds it funny. He's her audience. He wasn't just silent. He was the audience. He was the enabler. He was the laugh track. That night, I stood in my dressing room. It's a room the size of a studio apartment, all white marble and mirrors. I look at myself, really look, my face, my body, the one that bought this room, the one that Madison Pike and my husband have reduced to a thing that gets filler, retired model. I look at my own reflection. I am 34 years old. I am not perfect. I am not 18. I am not even trying to be. A small, cold smile touches my lips. Retired model. I whisper to the mirror. Maybe. But the difference between me and you, Madison, is that I own the mirror, and I have the power to fire you. It was a mistake, a tiny, stupid, arrogant mistake. But in finance, that's all it ever takes. Monica Hale, having finished her official audit, was now operating from her own office, deep diving on the Blackburn family office dime. Her call came at 10 a.m. on a Monday. "I found it. Hannah," she said. Her voice was flat, but I could hear the excitement, the thrill of the hunt. I was just running a final comparative analysis on all the subfunds, and I found a monster. "Tell me." "It's a small, managed fund, the Atlas Growth Sleeve. It's one of Madison Pike's pet projects," Monica explained. "The numbers are incredible. It's reporting a 22% outperformance against its benchmark for the quarter. It's a miracle fund." "And it's not," I stated. "It's not just not," Monica said. "It's a complete fabrication. The performance numbers HRC is reporting internally, they don't match the trade blotter from the broker. They don't match the custodial statements. The numbers are pure fiction." I sat down. This was new. This wasn't just office politics or trying to dilute my shares. This was a crime. "How?" "It's an old, stupid trick," Monica said, her disgust palpable. "It's called mismarking the book. She's delaying the recording of losses. She's taking her losing trades and, instead of booking the loss this quarter, she's pushing their settlement date into the next. She's stuffing all her garbage into next January's closet. It makes her performance this quarter the quarter that determines her bonus look spectacular." "That's not just a violation," I said, the words cold. "That's fraud. It's a massive compliance breach. It's grounds for an immediate termination for cause. It's grounds for the SEC to pull their charter. It's the kind of thing that ends careers. And she's not doing it alone." "Casey," I whispered, "the head of compliance, a guy named Davidson, has flagged this fund twice in the last month, both times. His internal inquiries were shut down. By Casey Bowen, I have the email chain, but I have something better. Better. The compliance department records all its official review meetings for regulatory purposes. My source, Sarah, pulled the audio from a review meeting last Thursday. It's about the Atlas Fund. Davidson is arguing with Casey. I'm sending you the file. Listen to the timestamp for 4 minutes, 12 seconds. The file appeared in my encrypted inbox. I put in my headphones, my hand shaking just slightly. I clicked play. I heard the muffled sound of a conference room. A nervous male voice. "Davidson, it just doesn't reconcile. Casey, the numbers are impossible." And then, my husband's voice, not the charming, easy voice he used at parties, not the angry, gaslighting voice he used on me. This was a new voice. It was cold. It was hard. It was the voice of a bully. "Look, Davidson," Casey said, and I could hear him leaning into the microphone. "Let's be practical. Let's stop looking at the goddamn spreadsheets and look at the reality. Madison Pike is our top rainmaker. She's the reason we landed the pension fund. If this Atlas fund looks bad this quarter, Madison's bonus dies. My promotion to senior partner dies. Everyone in this room loses. We're a team. I expect you to be a team player. We'll balance it out in the first quarter. It's just a timing issue. Are we clear? There was a long, terrible silence. Then, a defeated, "Yes, Casey." The audio ended. I took off my headphones. My heart wasn't pounding. I didn't feel rage. I felt a profound, hollow cold. This was so much worse than an affair. An affair is a failure of the heart. This was a failure of character. He was willing to risk the entire firm. He was willing to break the law. He was willing to risk my money, the investors' money, the money of Douglas's legacy, all to protect his position and reward his co-conspirator, all for his own goddamn bonus. I called Monica back. "He's a criminal," she said, her voice tight. "This audio file is a smoking gun. Hannah, we have to send this to the SEC. This is bigger than you. This is a public matter." I was quiet for a long time. I looked at the picture of Douglas Hargrove on my desk. He was smiling, a sly, knowing grin. "No," I said. "Hannah, you don't understand. I understand perfectly." I cut her off. "If we send this to the SEC, they'll launch a multi-year investigation. They'll burn the entire company to the ground. The good people, the junior analysts, the ones on my list, they'll all be collateral damage. The firm will be destroyed. And Casey and Madison will just get fines and be barred from the industry. That's not justice. That's just messy." I stood up. I had my target. "No," I said again, my voice firm. "We don't want to burn the company. We want to burn the right people. We are going to let them have their rope. And then, at the bonus meeting, we are going to personally, quietly, and efficiently hang them with it." "What's the play?" Monica asked. "The play," I said, "is that we are no longer the retired model. We are the concerned investor, Julian." My lawyer was already on the conference line, listening. "I'm here. Hannah, I want you to draft an internal findings memo," I said, "on full Hargrove Blackburn Holdings letterhead. Send it directly to the HRC board, the CEO, and the head of compliance. I want it to be cold, factual, and terrifying. State that our routine audit has uncovered significant and disturbing irregularities in the Atlas Growth sleeve. State that we have noted a pattern of delayed loss recognition and a clear failure of internal controls, and I want this sentence verbatim. Hargrove Blackburn Holdings formally requests that any and all bonus considerations and promotion discussions for Madison Pike and Casey Bowen be suspended until these matters are resolved to our, the majority shareholders, complete satisfaction." "Hannah," Julian said, and I could hear the smile in his voice. "That is not a memo. That is a declaration of war." "Send it," I said. The memo went out at 3 p.m. By 4:30, my husband's firm was in a full-blown panic. The CEO called an emergency board meeting. The entire executive floor was in lockdown. According to Sarah, the rumor was that the ghost investor Blackburn was furious and was planning a hostile takeover. For the first time, the board, the partners, and the employees of HRC were absolutely terrified of the name Blackburn. They just had no idea she was sitting in a penthouse in Tribeca, drinking tea. The fallout hit Madison, just as I knew it would. She was called into the CEO's office. She came out, according to Sarah's text. Looking white, she immediately stormed into a conference room with her team. She didn't know the door was ajar. She didn't know Sarah was at the next desk, and she started screaming. "He's ruining it!" She was yelling, her voice shaking with rage. "This whole goddamn game, we were this close. And now some ancient, dickless old man in Connecticut, some Blackburn, who hasn't been seen since 1980, decides today to ruin my bonus, to ruin my career. He's trying to break me. He's trying to break this firm." She thought the old man Blackburn was her enemy. She had no idea her enemy was the retired model she'd laughed at. She was fighting the wrong war. That night, Casey came home. He wasn't just stressed. He was broken. He was drunk. Not tipsy, but sloppy. Stumbling drunk. He missed his mouth on the first try with his scotch. "It's over," he slurred, slumping onto one of the kitchen bar stools. "It's all over." I just watched him. I didn't say a word. "That memo. From Blackburn." He shook his head, looking at me with red, watery eyes. "They're gonna cut her bonus. They're gonna cut Madison's bonus. All of it." "That sounds like a compliance issue," I said, my voice empty. "You don't understand." He slammed his fist on the marble. You never understand. I have to protect her." "Hannah." "Protect her. Your colleague. Why?" "Because," he yelled, his voice cracking. "Because if she goes down, I go down. If she loses her bonus, my whole team gets cut. They'll say I lost control. They'll pull my promotion. I'm screwed. Hannah, I'm screwed." He put his head in his hands, a pathetic, sobbing mess. The money machine was out of gas. I looked at him, the man I had once loved, the man who had laughed at me, the man who was now conspiring to steal from me. I walked to the sink and poured myself a glass of water. "Casey," I said, my voice very, very quiet. He looked up, his face a ruin of self-pity. "Sometimes, to save the ship," I said, "you have to throw the person who's drilling a hole in the bottom of it overboard." He just stared at me. He had no idea what I'd just said. He had no idea I was talking about him. After the drunken breakdown, Casey changes. The panic hardens into something else, something quiet and calculating. He's sober for 3 days straight, and the house is filled with a new, heavy silence. He's no longer the money machine. He's a man looking for an escape hatch. The new conversations start on a Saturday morning. He's sitting at the breakfast bar, nursing a coffee, looking almost normal. "Han," he says, his voice casual, too casual. "You ever think about what if we just sold everything, moved to, I don't know, Napa? Just got out of this rat race." I look up from my tablet. "We're not Napa people. Casey." He forces a small laugh. "I'm serious. This whole HRC thing is this memo from Blackburn. It's got me thinking. It's just a job. If I wasn't at HRC one day, if I got kicked out, you'd still be okay. Right? We'd be okay." He's not asking for reassurance about our marriage. He's asking about my financial stability. He's testing to see if I am a liability he'd have to carry, or an asset he could tap. "I'm sure we'd manage," I say, and go back to my reading. A few days later, he tries again, this time with a different, more practical angle. He brings me a stack of mail. "These tax forms they're a nightmare. Hannah," he says, rubbing his temples. "We're so exposed. Your inheritance, my stock, it's all in different accounts. It's messy." "Julian handles my taxes," I say. Right, but I was talking to a guy at the firm. He says we should be consolidating, for tax efficiency. We should have a main joint account. Move your Hargrove investments into it, just to make it all cleaner, less of a headache for the IRS. I almost have to smile. It's so clumsy, so transparent. He's panicking. He thinks he's about to lose his unvested shares, his bonus, his entire net worth, which is all tied to HRC. He needs a new source of capital. He's looking at my little inheritance as his golden parachute. He wants to get his hands on it, lock it down in a joint account before he's officially fired, so he can claim half of it in a divorce. The next day, I'm in Soho, in the war room, sitting across from Julian Rice. He's asking me to merge our assets, I say. He's planning his exit, and he's planning to take me with him. I lean forward, my hands flat on the polished wood. "So let's talk about it. Julian, the divorce, let's say he files. Let's say he comes after me, after the trust. Where do we stand?" Julian's thin smile returns. He doesn't look like a lawyer. He looks like a historian who has just been asked his favorite subject. "Hannah," he says, "we stand on a mountain made of ironclad contracts, offshore holdings, and the single most airtight trust document I have ever had the pleasure of co-authoring." He taps a thick bound document on his desk, the Blackburn Trust. Douglas was a genius, Julian says. This trust is not a marital asset. It was a gift, a bequest, structured specifically to be untouchable. The penthouse you live in. It is not your penthouse. It is an asset of the trust, which you are permitted to inhabit, the house in Montauk same, the dividends, the controlling interest in HRC. All of it is not your property. It is the trust. You are merely its managing trustee. He leans in, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Your husband, in the eyes of the law, has no more claim to that money than your doorman. He could hire the most savage divorce attorney in New York. They would take one look at this document and then politely, or not so politely, tell him to go to hell. He cannot touch it. The weight of it settles on me, the real, final, glorious truth. So, I say, thinking aloud, his salary, his HRC bonus, is all he has, Julian finishes. Casey Bowen, the rich husband, is nothing of the sort. He is a salaried employee. He is a man who lives in a house he does not own, driving a car he does not own, on his way to a job where, it seems, his future is uncertain. The entire narrative, the entire 4-year marriage, he was the trophy. He was the one who married for money. He just didn't know it. Casey, of course, is operating under his own wildly incorrect assumptions. He's already in motion. He's getting sloppy. An email appears in our shared house inbox, the one we use for bills in the building's management company. It's from Stein, Rothman, and Liev. The subject invoice for retainer. Bowen, C. He'd forwarded it there by mistake. A billing invoice from a top-tier divorce attorney. I look at it. I feel nothing. No anger, no sadness, just a cold, clean sense of the inevitable. I forward the email to Julian's private account. Subject for your files. Piece 8. He makes his last desperate play on a Thursday night. He comes into my home office, the one he thought was for hobbies. He's holding 2 glasses of wine, a peace offering. Hun, he says, trying to smile. Can we talk? Really talk? I take the glass. I wait. I've been an idiot, he starts. This whole thing at the office, this Blackburn memo, it's a disaster. And I've been handling it all wrong. He sits on the edge of my desk. I'm trying to fix it. I'm trying to fix us. I have a plan. The only way to get this Blackburn guy off our backs is to change the game. A new plan, I say. Yes, he says, his eyes lighting up. He thinks I'm agreeing. The restructuring, the one Madison and I, the one I was working on, it's the only way. To dilute the old trust, to get new, active money in, to get control. He takes my hand. It's cold. That little piece of HRC that Douglas left you, he says, his voice a low, earnest plea. The stock. It's part of the old structure. It's part of the problem. If you would agree to sell it to me, to my new SPV, it would show the board that we're united. It would give me the leverage I need to finalize the restructuring. It would save me. Hannah. It would save us. I stare at him. He is literally, at this moment, confessing. He is asking the majority shareholder to sell her controlling interest to him so that he can complete his theft of the company. He is doing it with a pleading look in his eye, all while holding the invoice from his divorce lawyer. He still, after all this, believes I am a complete and utter fool. Let me think about it. Casey, I say, my voice soft. It's a big step. Yes, he says, his relief palpable. Yes, of course. Think about it. He drains his wine and stands up. Triumphant. He kisses the top of my head. You're a good wife, Hannah. You've always been my rock. He leaves the room. I wait until I hear the front door close. He's going for a walk, but I know he's going to call his lawyer and celebrate. I pick up my phone. I sent a text message to Julian. He's planning to get my signature on the restructuring and then serve me with divorce papers. We are changing the timeline. The bonus meeting happens first. The divorce happens second. Lock it down. For the next week, I am a ghost in my own home. I move into the guest suite. I'm just so stressed, Casey, I say, my voice weary. I'm not sleeping. I think the space will be good for us. He agrees. Of course. It's perfect for him. I spend my days at the family office, finalizing the attack. I am polite. I am kind. I am the perfect, supportive, slightly stressed retired model wife. I gave him no warning. I give him no anger. I am a calm, blue sky. And he has no idea the hurricane is already on shore. On Friday morning, the email arrives. It is sent from the CEO's office to the entire executive committee and to one unusual, external address. Subject: mandatory attendance. Compensation Committee, special session date, December 21st, 8:00 a.m. Sharp. Agenda approval of 2025. Bonus pool review of proposed restructuring. I scroll down to the list of attendees. The CEO, the CFO, the head of HR, Casey Bowen, Madison Pike, and at the bottom, H. Blackburn, Investor Representative Hargrove Blackburn Holdings. I look at the email for a long, quiet minute. I hit Reply All. My fingers type 2 words. Attending, H. Blackburn. I hit Send. The Halcyon Ridge Capital Year-End Gala is a symphony of desperation, staged at a cavernous, offensively expensive Midtown hotel. The theme, according to the gilt-edged invitation, is a new horizon. It's a fittingly empty phrase for an evening built on anxiety and champagne. The air is thick with the scent of competing perfumes and the high-pitched hum of conversations that are all, in one way or another, about money. From my position near a towering, out-of-place ice sculpture, I can hear the whispers, the bonus pool, the promotions, and, most thrillingly, the ghost. I heard he's flying in from Zurich. My boss said he's an old-school Connecticut raider, a total killer. Blackburn, even his name sounds heavy. They're all talking about the Special Compensation Committee meeting, scheduled for 8 a.m. sharp, tomorrow morning. They're all talking about H. Blackburn, the invisible hand that has suddenly, after years of silence, decided to grip the wheel. And then there is Madison Pike. She is not whispering. She is broadcasting. She's wearing a backless, floor-length gown of the most aggressive red I have ever seen. It's a dress that doesn't just enter a room. It invades it. She is, as always, holding court, a circle of junior VPs hanging on her every word, their faces a mixture of sycophancy and terror. "Oh, the memo," she's saying, loudly enough for everyone to hear. She waves a perfectly manicured hand, dismissing the document that I know for a fact has given her panic-induced insomnia for a week. That was just a formality, a misunderstanding. Casey and I cleared up the Atlas numbers this afternoon. This is a lie, a beautiful, bold, desperate lie. My bonus is secure, she continues, taking a sip of her champagne. Casey said it himself, investors need money, sure, but they need people like me, the people who make the money a hell of a lot more. This Blackburn guy will sign. He has to. Casey, my husband, he is true to form. Standing beside her, he's been plastered to her side all night. A loyal, handsome shadow. When a senior partner from another firm came over to congratulate them on a recent deal, I watched the introduction from across the room. "It's great to see you." "Charles?" Casey said, his hand on the partner's shoulder. "You?" "Of course. No, Madison Pike, the brain behind our entire growth strategy this year." He gestured to her. She beamed. Then, almost as an afterthought, his eyes scanned the room and found me. "Oh," he said, his smile faltering for just a second. "And this is my wife, Hannah." The brain and the wife, the two distinct, mutually exclusive categories of his world. I don't react. I keep my own smile in place. The retired model smiled. I nod. I shake hands. I am a vision of supportive, silent elegance. But I am not idle. I make my own rounds. I glide away from the executive circle and find the people on my list. I talked to Sarah, the junior analyst, and her friend from compliance. Wonderful to see you both, I say, my voice warm. Sarah, I was looking at the last quarter's data. Were you worried about the drawdown on that tech sleeve you were managing? Sarah's eyes go wide. Mrs. Bowen, I didn't know you. It was a smart move to rebalance in November, I continue, as if we're discussing the weather. You protected the downside. Most people would have just chased the rally. I turn to the compliance analyst. And Jenny, your memo on the new regulatory framework was brilliant. You actually managed to make the Sharpe ratio sound interesting. They stare at me. They are so used to being invisible, so used to being talked down to, that a single, specific compliment from the pretty dumb wife has left them speechless. They don't know what to do. Thank you, Mrs. Bowen, Sarah finally stammers. Hannah, I say. Please, call me Hannah. I move on. I leave them in my wake. The rumor mill is a powerful thing. I've just added a new, confusing narrative. The retired model knows what a Sharpe ratio is. The night deepens. The drinking gets heavier. The rumors solidify. The 8 a.m. meeting is real. H. Blackburn is attending in person. I'm standing near the bar when I hear Madison's voice again. She's talking to Casey, but she's really talking to the VPs around Casey. Honestly, I don't care if he's an old, grumpy bastard. She laughs, the sound like breaking glass. He's rich, and rich old men just want to be told they're smart. Casey can handle him. Just charm him a little. Casey, that's all it will take. The comment is overheard by one of Monica's other sources, an assistant I've been cultivating for weeks. He immediately goes to the restroom and types out the quote in a text. The text goes to Monica. Monica forwards it to me. I'm reading the message on my phone, the exact words she just spoke, less than 30 seconds after they left her mouth. My information network is better, faster, and more loyal than theirs. I look for Casey. He's stepped out onto the terrace for some air. This is the moment. I walk through the glass doors. The city air is cold, but the view is, as always, spectacular. He's leaning on the railing, looking down at the river of headlights on Fifth Avenue. He doesn't hear me approach. Nervous about tomorrow, I ask, my voice quiet. He jumps, startled. Jesus, Hannah, you scared me. He turns, his face a mask of strained charm. Nervous? No, it's just a meeting. Just a meeting, I echo, standing beside him. You've been very tense, he sighs, trying to play the part of the burdened, brilliant husband. It's just this year, this meeting. It's the one that defines my future, my promotion, the restructuring, everything I've worked for. It all lands tomorrow. Yes, I say, looking out at the city. It does. I turn my head, my face in the shadow. You're just very sure you're betting on the right person to decide that future, aren't you? He frowns, confused by the question. He thinks I'm talking about him. He thinks I'm asking if he's the right person. I have to be, don't I? He says, with a sad, self-important little smile. I'm the one who has to get it done. I nod. Of course you are. I leave him on the balcony and head to the ladies' room. As I'm passing the entrance, I hear my phone buzz, a notification. I've left the iCloud sharing active on our home iPad. It's a text message. Not to me. From Madison to Casey. Tomorrow we get what we deserve. Finally. I'm in the stall when my phone buzzes again. The reply. From my husband. We've earned it. I look at the two messages, glowing in the dark of the stall. We've earned it. The shared delusion. The conspiracy. Summed up in 3 short, damning words. I walk back out into the ballroom. The CEO, a man named Arthur, is on the stage, tapping a microphone. Friends, colleagues, he booms, his face ruddy with champagne. What a year, what a night, now. We all know the real work gets done tomorrow. Tomorrow. We finalize the bonuses. We sign the papers. The room cheers, a nervous, ragged sound. But tonight, he raises his glass. Tonight, we celebrate. The room cheers again. I raise my own glass. The champagne is cold, I am, as always, the perfect, smiling wife. I look at Arthur, I look at Madison, who is now clinking glasses with Casey, her red dress a slash of color in the crowd. No, Arthur, I think to myself, as I take a tiny cold sip. Tomorrow, you don't finalize the bonuses. Tomorrow, you find out who has been in charge of this room and this company all along. Tomorrow, you just finalize who gets to stay. I don't stay until the end. I leave at 11. Casey is too busy with Madison to notice. I get home to the dark. Silent penthouse, the guest room, my new sanctuary. I don't turn on the lights. I walk to the closet. I push aside the black dresses, the silk blouses, the cashmere sweaters. At the very back, in a garment bag, is the suit I had tailored 2 weeks ago. I unzip the bag. It's a simple, severe, single-breasted suit. Not black, not gray. It's white. I lay it out on the chair. I place the matching silk shell beside it. I walk to my desk, the one Douglas Hargrove gave me. I open the top drawer. Inside, in a velvet-lined box, is a single, heavy, black fountain pen. I picked it up. The metal is cold. Engraved on the silver clip, in small, perfect letters, are the words H. Blackburn. My phone buzzes on the desk. It's not a text. It's a calendar notification. Set a week ago, it's reminding me of my appointment. 08:00 a.m. Compensation Committee. Conference Room A. Casey Bowen and Madison Pike strode into Conference Room A at 8 o'clock sharp, radiating a brittle, defensive confidence. They looked like partners, a united front. They saw the setup Arthur, the CEO, at the head of the table, the CFO, the head of HR, and one empty chair, a single, leather high-back chair, with a polished wooden nameplate, H. Blackburn Hargrove, Blackburn Holdings. They still thought he was an old man. They settled in, Madison tapping her pen, Casey adjusting his tie. The door opened. I walked in. The white suit was a deliberate choice. It was stark, almost clinical, against the dark mahogany of the room. My hair was pulled back into a tight, severe bun. Every head turned. The CEO, Arthur, looked relieved. The CFO looked terrified. Casey went pale, a sickly, grayish white. Madison actually let out a short, baffled laugh. She said, looking at the CEO. Arthur, this is a committee meeting. Spouses aren't... Madison. Arthur cut her off, his voice sharp. He stood up. Allow me to introduce Hannah Blackburn, the managing trustee of the Hargrove Blackburn Holdings Trust. The blood didn't just drain from Madison's face. It vanished. She looked like she had been unplugged. Casey looked like he was going to be physically sick. His mouth hung open. I walked to the empty chair. I didn't look at my husband. I didn't look at his colleague. I placed my files, a thick, bound report on the table. The Hargrove Blackburn logo was on the cover, large and clear. My apologies for being 1 minute late, I said to the room, my voice calm and low. I had to sign a few last-minute documents related to today's bonus pool. I took the heavy black fountain pen from my jacket pocket and placed it deliberately on the table. Next to the file, the H. Blackburn engraving caught the light. Well, Arthur cleared his throat, a nervous, rumbling sound. Let's begin. As you all know, our majority investor requested this session following an internal findings memo regarding irregularities in the Atlas Growth sleeve, specifically naming Ms. Pike and Mr. Bowen. If I may, I said. It wasn't a request. I picked up the remote. The large screen at the end of the room lit up. Good morning, everyone. I am Hannah Blackburn. I am the name on the paper. I clicked. The first slide wasn't a logo. It was a spreadsheet. This is the Atlas Growth sleeve performance, as reported by Ms. Pike, I said. And this. I clicked again. A second, red-numbered spreadsheet appeared next to it. Is the actual broker-dealer blotter. As you can see, the two numbers do not reconcile. I walked them through it. Monica's data. The 22% outperformance that was, in reality, a 4% loss. the specific trades that had been delayed to push the losses into the next quarter. This wasn't an accident, I said. This was a deliberate strategy to misrepresent performance. That's not true. Madison finally found her voice. It was high and thin. That's just a timing issue. It's a complex fund. It's not fraud. A timing issue, I repeated, turning to face her. A timing issue that coincidentally inflated your performance in the exact quarter used to calculate your bonus, which, my records show, Mr. Bowen has argued to increase by over 30% year over year for performance that doesn't exist. I clicked the remote again. The screen changed. The results of the Women in Finance survey appeared, pie charts, bar graphs, and quotes. She called the woman in compliance the fat one, and Casey just laughed. She told me I should try a salad before the holiday party. This isn't just about numbers, Madison, I said, my voice dropping. It's about a culture of toxicity and body shaming that you seem to champion, all while hiding your own professional failures. Hannah. Casey's voice cracked. He jumped in, desperate, looking at me, his wife. Hannah, please, we can handle this internally. We don't need to do this. You understand the market. It's been tough. We're a team. I turned my full attention to him. The retired model face was gone. No, Casey, this isn't about the market. This is about you. This is about the two of you conspiring. I clicked again. The screen now showed the restructuring memo, the SPV, the dilution. This is about you attempting to dilute the majority shareholder's stake from 54% down to 21%. This is about you trying to steal the company. And this? I clicked again. His email. Hannah only cares about rescue dogs. This is about you using my money to reward yourselves for the crime. So, no, Casey, this isn't a market issue. Arthur, I said, turning back to the CEO. Mr. Rice? My counsel is on the line. Julian, can you confirm the trust's position? Julian's dry voice filled the room from a speakerphone. Per Clause 30B of the Hargrove Blackburn Trust, any and all compensation, equity distribution, or structural changes for senior-level employees at HRC are null and void without the express physical signature of the managing trustee, Ms. Hannah Blackburn. Furthermore, the trust reserves the right to call for an immediate vote of the board to review the leadership and standing of any partner for cause. The room was dead. The only sound was the hum of the projector. Arthur looked at me. He was pale, but he was a businessman. He saw the new power dynamic. Ms. Blackburn, as the representative of our controlling interest, what is your recommendation? I looked at Madison Pike. Her red dress from last night seemed pathetic in the harsh morning light. My recommendation for Madison Pike, I said, my voice sharp and final, is a total bonus award of 0 and immediate termination for cause, with a formal recommendation that her compliance violations be reported to an independent ethics committee. She's fired. Then, I turned my eyes to my husband. As for Casey Bowen, I continued, his bonus will be the absolute contractual minimum, no stock, no equity, and I formally recommend the board review his partnership status within the next 30 days. Madison shot out of her chair. You can't, she shrieked. You can't do this. I am the one who brings the money in. I am the brain. You're nothing. You're just a retired model. I smiled. A real, actual smile. A retired model. Yes, you're absolutely right. I leaned forward. And I am also the person who decides if you get to eat today. I am the person who just signed your termination papers. You can keep that phrase. Madison, you'll need it when you're trying to explain your employment gap. Hannah, Casey whispered. He looked destroyed. You're destroying my career, our life. No, Casey, I said, my voice flat. You destroyed your career when you decided to commit fraud. You destroyed our life when you chose to align with her. You did it when you laughed at her jokes. You did it when you disrespected the one person whose signature actually matters. I'm not destroying it. I'm just putting a stop to it. I took the pen. The H. Blackburn pen. I opened the bound copy of the meeting minutes that Julian had couriered over. I found the final page. I signed my name. A strong, clear, definitive signature. Then I picked up one last file. It was a single, pristine letter of award. The one that had been drafted for Madison Pike, before the memo. The one she thought she was getting. I slid it across the table. It stopped right in front of her. She looked down, her hands shaking. She saw the familiar HRC letterhead. She saw her name. And then she saw the numbers. Total bonus award $0. Reason performance misrepresentation and violation of internal code of conduct. And at the very bottom, in the space for the investor, the signature was already printed, approved by Hannah Blackburn. Her eyes shot up to mine, the signature, the one she'd been mocking, the name she thought was a dusty old man. It was me. It had always been me. The meeting was over. I stood up. I put my pen back in my pocket. I gathered my files. I am not here for revenge, I said to the silent room. I am here to remind all of you. The quiet woman in the corner, you underestimate the one you dismiss as just a pretty face. She might be the only thing holding this company together. She might be the only one who can stop it from being pulled down by the greed of a few. I walked to the door. Hannah. Casey's voice, desperate. Hannah, wait, we need to talk. I stopped. I turned back. Just my head. I looked at him. The rich husband. The money machine. Yes, Casey, I said. We do, but not here, and not as the wife supporting your career. After you receive your minimum bonus, you'll be receiving another set of papers from my lawyer. I walked out of conference room A. I didn't look back. I left them all in the wreckage, with the pale faces and the bonus letters that now read 0. Outside, the Wall Street New Year was beginning, loud and chaotic, and I, the retired model, had just signed the death warrant of their careers. Thank you so much for listening. Please comment where you're listening from so we can connect. Share your thoughts, and be sure to subscribe to Zoe Revenge Stories. Like this video, and hit the hype button to help this story reach more people.